Okay, so we want to find the probability, the sum of the numbers showing up. The sum is 8, given that both numbers are even. So I want the sum of 8, given that both are even. Okay, so let's go find out the number of combinations that I get a sum of 8. So that'll be 4 and 4, 5 and 3, 3 and 5, 6 and 2, and 2 and 6. All right, so let's look at how many combinations I have where they're both even. So both even, 2, 2, 4, 4, 6, 6, 2, 4, 4, 2, 4, 6. Oops, on my comma there. 4, 6, 6, 4, 2, 6, and 6, 2. All right, so we want to take, this will give us the probability that I have the sum of 8, and both even, divided by the probability that they're both even. Okay, so I'm going to go for the denominator first. So both even, so it's a probability. So I know that I can see both even gives me 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 out of the 36 options, right? Because there's 2 die, each with 6 possibilities each. And then I'm looking for the number that have a sum of 8 that are both even. So sum of 8, that would be 2 and 6, 6 and 2, and 4 and 4. So that would be 3 out of the 36. And so that gives me 1/3. Okay, so we've got this urn that holds this many balls. And so we're choosing one after another. What's the probability that both are blue? So both are blue. Probability, I'll call 1 blue and 2 blue. Okay, first one is blue and the second one is blue. Okay, so that's going to give me the probability that the second is blue given that the first is blue. And then I have to multiply by the probability that the first is blue. So let's do this one first. The first is blue means that when I went initially to go pick it, I chose one of those 5 out of the 12. So now I'm going to pick this one, and now I only have 11 balls to pick from, and there's only 4 blue ones left. So that would be the answer. All right, so then what's the probability the second is blue, but the first is not? Okay, so probability that the second is blue, and the first, I'm just going to put is gray. Well, I guess let me make that a little neater. I don't know what that circle is. Go away, circle. Oh, well, okay. So the probability that the second is blue and the first is gray. Okay, so what that means is probability is the second is blue, given that the first is gray, and then I have to say probability that the first is gray. Number 1 is gray. So if the number 1 is gray, that means out of the 12 balls, right, that I chose one of those 7. And now I'm going to go pick out of the balls, so there's only 11 left, and I'm picking the probability that it's blue, so that's going to be 5. So that would be the answer. Okay, so now I just want probability of the second is blue. So there's different options, right? So probability that the second is blue, number 2 is blue. So that means I could have one of two cases. I could have the second is blue and the first is blue, or I could have the probability that the second is blue and the first is gray. And so I just have to go figure that out. So if I go and find the second is blue and the first is blue, wait a minute, I think we just did that, didn't we? That is. So the both of them are blue. So that gave us a 4 out of 11 times a 5 out of a 12. And the probability that the second is blue and the first is gray, we just did that too. So that adds this on, 11 times 7 over 12. Okay, so at least, we've had fun with this, so probability at least one of the balls is blue, so that means I can do all minus none, right? So 1 minus the probability that you're just picking gray. on the first and the second choice. So that would be 1 minus. So the first time I go and pick a gray, that would be 7 out of 12. And then the next time I go back in, there's only 11 balls left, and there's only 6 grays to pick from. All right, same kind of thing. So probability that both of them are red. So probability that I'll just go R1 and R2. A little easier to read that way. So that means that the probability that that R1 is happening, and then you pick the second ball. So you're picking a red one first, so that's the given that, and then you pick the red one second, and it's all times the probability that you pick the red one. So the red one, let's see, first one you picked, it's out of 40, right? And so the red would be 25 out of 40. And then here you're going to have out of 39, and so you're picking 24 of those. So that would be the probability that they're both red. And then probability that the second ball is red, given that the first one is not. So that would be the red one is second and the first one is blue, right? So that would be probability red would be second, given that the blue was the first one, times the probability that blue is the first one. So again, since I have 40 balls, and for blue I have 15, I have 15 different ways to pick blue out of the 40, and then here, out of the 39 left, I'm going to pick a red one, so that's going to be 25. So what is the probability that the second ball is red? So I have different choices, right? So R2, so that's going to be the probability that R2 and R1, right? That's when they're both red. Or probability R2 and the blue is the first one. And so I think we just did this, right? So if I pick so let me just write one more step here so I could say this would be R2 given that R1, and then probability of R1 plus, and this would be the probability of R2 given the blue is the first one times the probability of blue is the first one. So look at that. I think this right here is this right here. So this is 25 over 39 times 15 over 40. And then this one here is this one here. And so that would be 24 over 39 times 25 over 40.